Minor spoilers for The Batman. I hope you're doing well. So I just watched the new Matt Reeves film, The Batman, a couple months ago, and it was awesome. Though I only watched it 2 times, I have a lot to unpack, which I will be discussing in the next how many minutes. The Batman is poetic, simple as that, but then it's actually not. The amount of work put into this masterpiece is worth the not so long runtime of 3 hours. And it needs to be showcased, and it is my job and duty to do that, because I get a grade on this. It is a mixed film of romance, action, thriller, and above all, a mystery. The directing, cinematography, writing, acting, and makeup are put to perfection into this comic book adaptation. I'll be reading most of the bits out of 10 bats, and I'll also give my thoughts on other stuff if I have to. So, let's begin. Bum, 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 bum. Matt Reeves demanded full direction over the movie. If not, we would have this monotone and clunky crap film. It would have plain sucked. Ben Affleck was supposed to direct as well as write the script and be the lead role as, Batman. And we all know how that would have gone.
Why did you say that there?
Reeves, however, stayed true to the comics of The Long Halloween and Year One that make and keep the story as well as the characters compelling. It is a true awe to see how Reeves made Batman and Gotham itself a true, rough individual on their own. Directing gets 9 out of 10 bats. Cool. I do want to focus heavily, and I mean heavily, on the cinematography. It is awesome. The camera work keeps the movie alive. Greg Fraser, who had just won an award for Academy for his work on Dune, but other things happened, still keeps up the good work and doesn't shine down one bit. The multiple close-ups, extreme close-ups, which are my personal favorite, overheads, and epic tracking shots both improve the tension, seriousness, and the few special action scenes of the film. Like the scene of Batman escaping with the wingsuit. While everything else is moving around him, the camera tracks his head like it's been mounted onto his head. It's very relevant to what you see on YouTube with GoPro videos. Very cool. The cinematography represents Gotham itself, and is supposed to have this perspective of Batman and a little bit of the Riddler here and there. It is rough, in your face, in a way down to earth. The texture of the lens made you feel like you were in Gotham. Fraser already has my Oscar pick for next year. Cinematography gets a 10 out of 10 bats. Last thing to mention is the sound. Oh, the sound. It is spectacular. The beating rain on the cape and cowl, the squeak of boots on the wet ground. To take note of the rain, in each scene you can mostly hear the rain outside. For a better understanding, just watch this video. Another final sound bit that I have to mention is when the theater literally rumbled when the Batman came to life before the chase scene began, which did its job in scaring the ever-loving crap out of me. Sound gets an 8 out of 10. Yeah. Anyways, I've said what I mostly wanted to say, so cool transition maybe? Future me. No? Bum, 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 bum. And I want to focus more on the people in the film, who they are and who they play. Let's start with the big one. Robbie Pattinson is great as the Batman. He's enjoyable to watch. He's fierce, bold, and above all, brutal. As Bruce Wayne, however, he is scared and scarred beyond fixing. A key thing to notice is that we don't see Bruce Wayne that often. Only Batman. Bruce doesn't want to appear in the film often because he doesn't want to live the life of a Wayne. He wants to serve justice as Batman. Simply, Pattinson is as good as Bruce Wayne. As Batman, however, he is better. Pattinson brings that edgy, badass, cool tone that Batman loses in the other campy films. I'm looking at you, George Clooney. Ice skates. Nipples. Anyways, Pattinson gets 9 out of 10 bats. But I'm gonna keep talking about the Batman's character. The best part about the Batman is that he isn't perfect. It is Year 2 film. The best part about this Batman is that he isn't perfect, not one bit. In the monologue at the start of the film, he clearly says, and I quote, "It's a big city, I can't be everywhere." As a character, Batman takes hits, like gunshots and some punches, however. The perfect Batman, however, would always dodge and counter, because Batman is always a few steps ahead, for he is Batman. You see what I'm getting at here? Another thing in the film is that he doesn't stop the murders. Everyone Riddler wants dead is dead, and he still gets his way throughout the film. Riddler is smart and cunning enough to go head to head with this Year 2 Batman, and Riddler is great in all actuality. Paul Dano does have a serial killer vibe anyway, so that's cool. That fits. Dano put a lot of dedication into the character, possibly wanting to shave all hair off his body just so the Riddler wouldn't leave DNA at the crime scenes. but he did put plastic wrap around his head, which made him overheat multiple times on set. The Riddler is insane, terrifying, and goofy at times. Definitely goofy. He's like the Zodiac Killer in the 70s, mixed with like a modern day YouTuber, which it's weird, but fits somehow into the modern day Gotham. The Riddler is definitely one of the best villains across all the Batman films, by far. Daniel gets 9 out of 10 bats. Moving on, Catwoman is good. That's it. That's really it. I think Zoe Kravitz is the best so far, along with like Anne Hathaway, I guess. I don't know, there's not that many. But the big problem really is that she like pops in and out of the film. Like after Batman and Selina meet, she disappears while Batman does detective work stuff, and then she just pops in again. We skip her story basically. After that, beyond that, I don't have much to say about her anymore. Only that's cool that she was bisexual like she is in the newer comics. Kravitz and her character gets a 7.5 out of 10 bats. So her story centers around the mob, and that's where like Falcone and Penguin come in. John Turturro is fine and whatever as Falcone, but the Penguin is one of the best characters in the film. Actually, this is actually this, and it is nuts. If the makeup team doesn't get any award for this, I myself will give vengeance to the world. But Farrell's performance is interesting and actually funny. I bet a lot of people didn't realize he's British and fit instead of the Boston accent, and he's fat. Seriously, he basically is just a joke throughout the film and just gets pushed and thrown around most of the time when he's on screen. He kind of did stupidly move the plot forward, though, so, yeah. Anyways, Colin Farrell gets an 8.5 out of 10 bats. Alfred is here, I guess. He doesn't do much at all in the movie, but he's Gollum and the monkey from the Monkey movie. I'm not gonna grade Alfred, just because. Finally, I want to mention Jeffrey Wright's performance as Commissioner Gordon, or technically Lieutenant Gordon. Wright's Gordon is sometimes as brooding as Batman, which I love.
Open your eyes!
And it's cool. The Batman and Gordon's relationship is what is keeping the movie together. It's the glue. Gordon gives Bats access to the crime scenes, and Batman returns the favor by stopping the Riddler, as well as anyone in their way. I like how Gordon sticks with Batman after the police, disown him. He is his only friend, basically, as the Batman, however. The two really worked well together, and there's no large conflict between the characters as well as the actors, so that's good to know. There's a sort of comic relief with the duo. They do bring in that little comedy within the film, actually, and that's great. Though Gordon doesn't have that much screen time, he's a great Gordon, and I'm excited to see what is next for him. Though I do like Gary Oldman. He was really good. Really good. Yeah, I really liked Wright. Wright gets 8 out of 10 bats. And that should wrap up all the character... Wait. Oh, right. Spoiler alert, I guess, but you can find this basically anywhere on the internet. The director already confirmed this, set in stone, so yeah. The Joker. This is a really major problem, I think. We cannot have another Joker. We've already had enough of him, with Heath Ledger's iconic performance and Joaquin Phoenix's solo film as the Joker, and just the Joker's just littered everywhere, and we don't need that. There's already one too many. Sure, it's great, terrifying, scary. He looks great in this film, but this really felt squeezed by DC. When you think of another Batman villain, the first thing people think of is Joker. With Bale, there's Ledger. With Keaton, there's Nicholson. With Pattinson, however, people should think of someone else rather than Barry Keoghan's portrayal, like the Riddler, or maybe the new villain, or maybe a new villain. The other issue is that DC is just trying to one-up their Jokers every time to make him more insane than the next. Every time the media compare the new latest and greatest Joker, they always compare it to Heath Ledger's astounding performance in 2008, but they don't need to be better. Batman should just have a Joker as a side character just to be there, not to do anything at all, because that is not Batman's greatest villain, not this Batman's, at least. That is probably the largest problem with the movie and characters. I won't rate that character. Rant over. Bum, 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 bum. So immediately from the first scene in the movie, it really shows that there was a lot of work put into this. The first Riddler murder is terrifying, as he lurks in the dark, waiting to pounce and strike upon his unaware victim. After that, the monologue occurs, which I can translate for you. Darkness! I am too cool! People are scared of me! I like that! Vengeance, vengeance, vengeance! I am the night! Something like that. Sure, it's generic, but it can bring in that fear factor. The film also has the best Gotham. The locations, like the Iceberg Lounge and the Times Square-like area at the beginning, is thriving, grungy, and overwhelmingly packed. you can see the previous years before scarring Gotham, like the renewal project that's littered throughout the film. Multiple banners and campaign stuff are littered through half-made buildings, which shows it's, that they've given up on that. They don't care for it anymore. Very interesting. The only problem is that it doesn't show enough of the people's perspective on the events of the film, like the murders. Sure, there is stuff here and there, but I think it needed more, and it would have like this perfection of Gotham. It would be really cool. It does show a pro and anti-view in the people somewhere here and there, as it is sort of important to the film, actually. But the people only come when the plot is needed, just like Catwoman's character, basically. For the story, however, if you expected action, it's not here. This was set to be a detective noir thriller film with some actions which balance out all the talking and whatnot. The special action scenes are rewarding and fun with cool attacks and brutal hits from Batman as well as the bad guys. But that's not what it's all about. The detective story is pretty good, I'd say. The drama and overall mystery of tracking down the Riddler is good, and I like the idea of Riddler exposing Gotham and its cryptic clues and stuff like that. All that jazz. Here I'll just mention a few scenes. The car chase was really awesome, with like the drums and the music becoming more intense only when the Batman is gaining on the Penguins. Listen here. And let's take a moment to mention the music. Giacchino made a super basic theme with like just 4 repeating notes most of the time, 3 of them being the same, but it gets the work done. It's brutish and menacing, like what Wayne wants to be as Batman. But there's another section of the Batman theme, and it's this very heroic, poetic, and sad type theme. It's actually very nice, which shows what the Batman is being shown through the eyes of the people. He is not this brutish figure anymore at the end of the film. To the people, he's a symbol of hope, not what Wayne wants to be as this like terrifying figure. The Riddler theme is actually just a rendition of Ave Maria, which is also the song that is used throughout the movie. It's actually the first thing we hear in the movie at the funeral scene and the later interrogation with Riddler. It is littered all throughout the film to just invoke the Riddler's presence and hand over Gotham. Last bit about music is the very popular song that came out of this movie, Something in the Way by Nirvana. Sure, it's very, typical emo, I guess, and can be cheesy, but it really fits Gotham and Batman. Like, as the lyric reads, "And the animals I've trapped." This invokes all the animal-themed villains that Batman will lock up. Catwoman, Penguin, Killer Croc, etc. It's very cool how the meanings and lyrics within these songs fit into the world of this Batman. Score and music get 8 out of 10. Alright, back to the plot. There are some dumb moments, like when Bats and Gordon go to this specific location for like 5 minutes, and then it's never shown again, but nothing's perfect, I guess. The third act is actually fun and action-packed, and it sort of is a reward to all this, talking. The ending was a tad more abrupt than I thought it would actually be, and it was calling for a sequel. It does sort of have a conclusion that makes the movie okay to not have a sequel, but once or twice throughout the film, there is a moment realizing that it's been a while since you've seen daylight, which coincides with the pacing. 95% of the time, nothing is too long or too short. Each scene is just divided out perfectly. Beyond that, plot is solid, and I really like the darkness of the story. The plot gets an 8.5 out of 10 bats. Do I agree pacing? No, what the heck. Pacing gets 9 out of 10. Deal with it. Bum, 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 bum. Now I just want to talk about my personal things about the movie. A few favorite pieces of mine were the marketing for the film, which actually I didn't mention. The film crew had started this amazing ARG, which means alternate reality game, which is just a marketing strategy. Fans to interact with possible things to promote the upcoming film. A few examples, this could be like the Dark Knight ARG and the Super 8 one. You'll just have to look it up. The crew made a website that makes you quote-unquote interact with the Riddler and answer 3 riddles for a reward. And it was very cool, but it's gotten dark since. And then one of my favorite scenes of the film, and one of the best actually, is just the interrogation between Batman and Riddler with the extreme tension and chilling dialogue. It's very, very good. Alright, let's wrap this up. The Batman can be seen in multiple ways. As a superhero film or a detective noir movie, but all in all, it is a film that had a lot of work that was put into it, where the writers, directors, actors really cared for the characters being played and knew the weight of the aftermath of the release and what would happen with the characters. From the gorgeous cinematography to the intricate story, Batman doesn't pull any punches in all production fields. Sure, there can be an error here and there, but what the hell? Nothing is perfect. I'm excited to see what Pattinson will do next, and I really hope there will be a sequel. Overall, this movie is actually top tier with great acting, great production work, with just small flaws that do not and should not change your views on the film if you watch this. So now, what are you waiting for? Go watch the movie. You haven't turned this revolting video off yet. So if you have 3 hours to spare, watch it. If you don't, get 3 hours. Have a date, skip it. Doing homework, you're kidding, right? Have work, you know what to do. Well, that's all she wrote. See you next time. Carter Quist, signing off.